This presentation is twofold. I will explain the full fiscal policy multiplier. Basically, that means we're going to be dealing with the G multiplier, with the government spending multiplier, and we're going to assume that G is autonomous. And the other subject is going to be the monetary policy multiplier. All right, so we'll do the calculations together. First, calculating the full fiscal policy multiplier, the G multiplier, and then the monetary policy multiplier, which will encompass the real money supply, M over P. Now, I already talked about the simple fiscal policy multiplier, all right? The term full means that you see, the difference is that the simple fiscal policy multiplier, it ignores the money market. In other words, the simple fiscal policy multiplier is only about the goods and services market. Matters are complicated when we look at the two markets together, the goods and services market and the money market. So now in our calculations, you're going to see that there's going to be a difference, in fact, a big difference between the full fiscal policy multiplier and the simple fiscal policy multiplier. And we're going to use the model equations from a previous example, a previous model that we used, and I believe that was labeled as P117. Okay, so we're going to go back to those numbers. We've already dealt with them, right? And this is why I decided to reuse them. So step one, I'm going to calculate the full fiscal multiplier. Again, that means the government spending multiplier. And you notice that these model equations, they include the two markets. They include the goods and services market and the money market. All right. So let's start with the calculation of the full fiscal multiplier, the G multiplier. Okay. So it starts with this equation here. Y is equal to C autonomous plus I autonomous plus G autonomous plus X autonomous minus, and here's that term which will include the summation of two terms containing the interest rate. So here we are, negative 500I pertaining to the physical investment equation, and negative 500I pertaining to the net export equation. And I think I mentioned this already. the fact that it's minus 500 and minus 500 is strictly a coincidence. All right, so we add these up and we get negative 1000i. Okay, now that's the numerator of the model equation. In the denominator, we get 1 minus MPC, which is equal to the marginal propensity to save plus MPC times T plus MPI. And they're all there, right? Here is MPC, 0.9. Here is T, 0.2. And here is MPI, 0.12. Okay, now y is equal to, and what I'm going to do is I'll switch colors, green. I'll add this number up, which is 100, and this number, which is 200, not G, not G, not G, and this number here, which is right here. So that's 100 plus 200 plus 100. Well, that's a total of 400. Now, why not G? Well, because I want to keep G open. This way, I'm going to be able to calculate the full fiscal multiplier. So I'll just put down plus G autonomous. Now keep in mind that the numerical value of G, autonomous G, is $200 billion, and that the implied coefficient of G is 1. All right. Okay, let's continue. Minus 1000i. Okay, and in the denominator, 1 minus MPC. Well, that's 0.1. MPC times T, that's 0.18. And then MPI, that's 0.12. We add them up and we get 0.4. Excuse me, like that, yeah? 0.4. Okay, so it's 0.4. Okay, now we do the calculations. 400 divided by 0.4 gives us 1000 plus, and here, coming back to autonomous G, what is the implied coefficient of G? 1. So 1 divided by 0.4 is equal to 2.5 G autonomous. And by the way, 2.5 happens to be the simple fiscal policy multiplier, the simple G multiplier. To continue, negative 1000i divided by 0.4 gives us negative 2500i. Okay, so this is the equation for the goods and services market. This equation represents the goods and services market. In addition, this equation is what we call the IS equation. And you remember what I said about the IS curve. The IS curve is a summation, it's a summary of the goods and services market. So they're one and the same, this equation. It's the equation for the IS curve and at the same time for the goods and services market. The next step is our calculation of the monetary policy multiplier. Okay, the monetary policy multiplier. But first, what we have to do is calculate the equation for the money market, which will also represent the LM curve, because the LM curve is the summary, the summation of the money market. All right, so now we're doing the other multiplier, or we're heading in that direction, the calculation of the money multiplier. All right, so well, we have the same given here. Okay. All right, so where do I start here? With this equation here. M over P, which is the equation for the real money supply, is equal to L, which is equal to K Y minus HI. Okay. All right. So let me just bring this down without the L. So it's the real money supply is equal to money demand, which is equal to KY minus HI. Okay, now when we juxtaposition these terms, we will get M over P minus K over Y divided by negative H, which is equal to the interest rate. Okay, now the next step, because again, remember the goal here. The goal is to measure the monetary policy multiplier. So in essence, we're going to be measuring the money supply multiplier. All right? And just like we did with G, government spending, we're going to keep M over P open. In other words, we're not going to replace it by numbers. All right? So M over P minus, what's K? Well, there it is. That's K. 0.8 Y. And what is H? Well, there's H. Negative 2,000. Right, is equal to the interest rate. So keep in mind, I'll do it in green. Keep in mind, once again, that M over P, that represents the real money supply, its implied coefficient is 1. Okay? All right, let's come back. So, 1 divided by negative 2,000 gives us negative 0.1230 and then a 5. Negative 0.0005 M over P plus, right? Negative 0.8. y divided by negative 2000 will give us a positive number. It'll give us 0.123, 3 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4y. And all of that is equal to the interest rate. Okay, so this in blue here, this equation represents the equation of the goods and of the money market. This equation represents the equation for the money market, and also it represents the equation of the LM curve, because the LM curve, once again, is the summary of the money market. All right, so let me put this down here. This is the equation. Simultaneously, it's the equation of the LM curve and also of the money market. All right, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take the IS equation, meaning the goods and services equation, and I'll take the LM curve equation, meaning the money market equation, and from those two equations I'm going to calculate the full fiscal multiplier and the monetary policy multiplier, or the money supply multiplier. So once again, these are our equations, and these last two are what we calculated previously, right? This is the equation for the IS curve, meaning the goods and services market, and this is the equation for the LM curve, the money market, except I don't particularly see this thing. This should be I. That should be an interest rate. Okay, interest rate, little I. I don't know what happened there. So little I, the interest rate. Okay, so let's see how we would calculate the full fiscal multiplier and the monetary policy multiplier. Okay, so let's hopefully I'll have room here. So it's y is equal to, I'm going to use this first equation, the IS equation, right? 1,000 plus 2.5 G, it's autonomous. Again, keep in mind that 2.5 is the simple fiscal policy multiplier. But we don't want that, right? What we're after is the full fiscal policy multiplier, the one that considers both the goods and services market and the money market. All right. To continue, negative 2,500 I. Okay. Okie dokie. All right. Except we don't want that I, do we? What we want is we want to substitute. So back to blue. So what is I? Well, we look at this equation here now, right? Okay. Parentheses, negative 0.0005 m over p, right? Plus I might have room, plus 0 point, it will be close, 0, 0, 0, 4y, 4y, end of parentheses. Wow. Okay, I squeezed it all in. All right, now the next step, y is equal to 1,000 plus 2.5g autonomous plus or minus. Minus times a minus is a plus. So it'll be plus 1.25 m over p minus y. All right, next step, 2y is equal to 1,000 plus 2.5g autonomous plus 1.25 that's 25 m over p. All right, and the final step, y is equal to 1,000 plus 1.25g plus 0.625 m over p. All right, so this 1,000, that's a constant. This is the full fiscal multiplier, 1.25 instead of 2.5. They're not always half. It's just a coincidence here that it happens to be half, right? So this is the this one here, 2.5. That's the simple multiplier. It's called simple because it only concerns the goods and services market without considering the money market, the influence of interest rates. And this one here, 1.25, that's the full multiplier, which considers both the goods and services market and the money market. It considers the influence of interest rates. And this second one, 0.625, well, that's the monetary policy or money supply multiplier. All right. Now, in plain English, let's do it in green here. All right. So, what's the meaning of this 1.25? Well, it means that if government spending goes up by $1, then what's going to happen? GDP, or Y, as we're calling it, will go up by $1.25. Well, in the extremis, if government spending goes up by $100 billion, then GDP will go up by $125 billion. And this also works in reverse. All right? Okay, now let me try black. All right? Now, this number here, well, that's the this 0.625. That's the monetary policy multiplier. And what exactly does it mean? Well, it means the following. If the money supply, here I must make you aware once again that P, right here, P is predetermined. In other words, it's constant, it's 1. So we're only looking at M, the nominal money supply. So if P, the nominal money supply, which is in the hands of the central bank, if the money supply goes up by $1, then what's going to happen to GDP? It's going to go up by well, let's round up a bit. 63 cents. All right. If the money supply goes down by $1, then the GDP would go down by 63 cents, etc., etc. Okay. So when it comes to the fiscal multiplier, why is there a difference between a simple multiplier and a full multiplier? Well, once again, the simple multiplier only considers the goods and services market. It does not consider the money market. So it ignores the influence which interest rates have on the economy, on the multiplier, you can put it that way. The full fiscal multiplier, on the other hand, considers both the goods and services market, also, and the money market. All right? In other words, the full fiscal multiplier includes the influence of interest rates, and interest rates have a tendency to lower the multiplier. Okay, that's it for now.